it was a really difficult week this week because when people heard we had a guest performer, I probably hundreds, if not thousands, of emails from congregation members worried that I would not give a sermon. And I actually had my life threatened. So, in deference to that, I'm just going to give you a very short orator and then we'll continue the service just to preserve my own health. I'm just worried about that. So this week is the most dramatic portion in the Torah because it takes a dramatic turn from the universal history of the world to the history of the Jewish people. This is the story of the first Jew. Who's the first Jew? Anybody know? Anybody Jewish here? What's that? Oh, okay. First Jew is? Not Barbara Streisand. What's that? What's that? Abraham. Very good. So why was Abraham chosen to be the first Jew by God? So I'm going to read you the text. Listen carefully and tell me the answer. You'll figure it out in a moment. And God said to Abraham, Lech lecha me'aretzecha u'mimoladecha u'mibeit avicha al ha'aretz asher arecha. And God said to Abraham, leave your country, from your kindred, from your father's house, to the land I will show you. And I'll continue in English. And I'll make you a great nation. And I'll bless you and make your name great. And you will be a blessing, etc. So why did God choose Abraham? Sorry, I'll read it again. And God said to Abraham, leave your country, your kindred, from your father's house, to the land I will show you, and I'll make you a great nation, and I'll bless you, etc. So what does the text say? What reason does God choose for appointing Abraham to be the father of the Jewish people? Should I read it again? Oh, that's a trick question. It doesn't. And why do you think that is? Why do you think the text leaves out the reason for God choosing Abraham to be the father of the Jewish people?
So Jews could argue about it.
Very good. So that's actually the answer. The answer is that Judaism is not a robotic religion. It's not that God stands up on high and tells us what to do and we follow like robots. It's a partnership. We are meant to fill in the blanks. So much of the Torah is left unfinished because we are supposed to finish it. We are in partnership with God in interpreting the Torah. There's a very famous phrase that says, HaTorah lo b'shamayim. Anybody know what that means? The Torah is not in heavens. It's up to us to figure out and interpret and apply to our lives. And if it doesn't work, then we reinterpret it until it works. And that's why so much of Judaism is not biblical based, because for thousands of years the rabbis have interpreted it to make it work. The problem is if you stop interpreting it, it becomes frozen and doesn't become relevant. So the key is to continue that partnership with God. So basically the Torah doesn't tell us why God chooses Abraham. We have to figure it ourselves. So a clue happens in the next portion. In the next portion, what happens? Abraham is in a tent, and God appears unto Abraham according to the text. And all of a sudden, in the middle of God's conversation with Abraham, what happens? He sees three strangers in the distance. And what does Abraham do? He goes out and he greets them and gives them hospitality and takes care of them. Now listen to this moment here. Imagine you're with the most important person in the world. Dalai Lama or Nelson Mandela or Justin Bieber, depending on your age. I know my audience, right? And you're having a conversation with this individual, and all of a sudden you see some homeless person in the distance. Are you going to interrupt your conversation? Probably not. Here's Abraham talking to the master of the universe, the Ribono Shel Olam, and all of a sudden, I'll see you later, I've got to take care of these strangers I've never met. How do you explain that? The rabbis say, yes, that was the right thing to do. And the rabbis say, because we are all God's children. And the last thing God wants us to do is to ignore human beings to serve God. The way we serve God is by serving humanity. Hasidic master was once asked, how do you know someone loves God? If he or she loves people. And the rabbis say from this very passage we learn that greater than the reception of God is hospitality to strangers. And just a little while later, and I'll finish off with this, I promise, we have the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Where God tells Abraham, I'm going to destroy the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. And what does Abraham say to God? You know what you're doing. God, no. He says, what do you mean? How could you do that? Shall you sweep away the innocent along with the wicked? Hashofet kol haaretz le'aseh mishpat? Shall the judge of all the earth not act justly? And they have a big debate and a dialogue until God convinces Abraham there's really no righteous people in the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. So again, you see from this that Abraham's compassion and kindness wasn't just to his family, wasn't just to strangers, it was even to people who weren't that good. So what we learn from this, the reason why God chooses Abraham to be the father of the Jewish people is because to be Jewish means to care about all humanity. Yes, of course you should care for your own people. That's kind of natural, right? I'm in Toronto. I'm sadly a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. That's obvious, right? But the thing is, to be Jewish is not a contradiction. It means to have your circle of love spread as far and wide as possible. So some beautiful thoughts, I think, to start off this week's Torah portion.